live in the dungeon. This is the Dream Warrior Review. I'm Kurt Thomas.
I'm Strawn.
And this is episode 59. So this is a very special episode because we're actually finally, this is the first episode we've done where we talked about TV, I think.
Yeah, we're going to talk some.
We're going to really kick it old school for a minute.
Yeah, we're going to take it way back.
1966.
1965.
Oh, was it 55?
65. 65.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought the first episode came out 19...
I think it was here. Go up on the screen. I think you'll see that it is 1965.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
1965.
It was September. I know that. I wrote it down.
And, yeah, we're going to talk about the pilot.
So, Lost in Space, I actually only caught this, when I was growing up. I never really watched this show. I caught, the last couple seasons, probably. Like when it was just all about the robot.
You mean you as a kid?
It was all reruns.
Well, how long did this go? Oh, in reruns.
I'm talking about in the 80s.
Oh, in reruns.
Yeah. So I caught it in reruns, and Dr. Smith and the boy, everything was in color.
Right.
So it was obviously the later seasons.
Oh, yeah.
And I just kind of thought it was a corny show that I only caught maybe half an episode here and there every once in a while. So this is the first time I've actually gone back and watched the pilot episode and the first episode.
Right. Well, I didn't watch the first episode. I watched it in 1965. I watched the pilot with or was it the first episode?
Well, the pilot was apparently. I looked into it and I was trying to figure out what's going on, but yeah, it was said that the pilot was never released.
Oh, okay.
So, but they used clips of it later on.
Okay. Well, then I think the one that I watched was the first episode.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Wasn't it interesting to see the pilot though, and then see what they did differently on the first episode?
Oh, you know what? I would love to go back and see it. What did they do different?
Oh, it was the robot wasn't there, for example, and neither was Dr. Smith.
Oh, really?
So it was just all about the family going off into space and basically encountering all these horrible problems. The whole time.
Gotcha. Well, that would have been boring.
So it's a Swiss Family Robinson in space.
Well, that's why they were called the Robinsons.
But no, it was a little bit darker and wasn't. I don't know. It's actually I would say I really liked what they did. I thought they were brilliant though. The writers, whoever did this, whoever wrote this thing was brilliant because they went and saw the pilot and they said, okay, I think this is working, but we have to change a couple things. And what they added was awesome. The robot and Dr. Smith.
The robot and Dr. Smith.
They probably gave them more years.
Dr. Smith and the robot were the things that you watched it for.
Which it evolved because I think I have to watch more episodes now because my hypothesis, because I've really seen the episodes, are the fact that it started off about the family and about family dynamics, even though it was kind of cheesy 1960s, on the surface stuff. And then it turned into all about the robot and a boy.
And the funny thing about it is that's what science fiction always is. Science fiction is just should just be a focus for telling stories about people. Yeah. And about society and about, how it reacts to, different stimuli. And that's
I think the 60s, I think people overlook the 50s and 60s as far as sci-fi.
Oh yeah, no.
Because you had a lot of great authors around that time.
Oh, you had. Oh,
I mean, if you just Arthur C. Clarke,
think of all the people who started. I mean, you got Damon Knight, Harlan Ellison. You have the guy who wrote.
Aldous Huxley. You had.
Yeah, I mean
Ray Bradbury was kind of doing some cool stuff back then.
Ray Bradbury was awesome back then. Asimov.
Isaac Asimov. There's a lot of
Robertson. Oh man, just on and on and on. Yeah, no.
Who was this guy? The guy that did this one, that produced it. I'm blanking out his name.
Oh, Irvin Allen.
Yeah, Irvin Allen.
Yeah, this was an Irvin Allen.
I'm trying to think of the movie he did, Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea.
He did Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. He did all the Towering Inferno movies.
Towering Inferno, stuff like that.
Airplane, but airport, and he was the big adventure guy. He did Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea. Just trying to think.
The Electronic Brain, wasn't it? Was that one? Oh no.
Oh, what else did he do? Yeah, Irwin Allen was he was the Mr. Adventure, and the thing that's interesting is at the time, and I have to tell you, I'm going to confess, I'm old enough to having watched this originally with Star Trek,
Right. How would you compare it to Star Trek? Because I mean, my impression was I think I'd probably get into the show more if I was watching this back in the day.
You know, I don't think that I got into one more than the other. I definitely thought that this was a comedy when I was a kid. That this was the funny one, and Star Trek was the serious one.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that was, you know, it was our dose of science fiction.
So I thought the pilot was kind of...
and you have to look at all the stuff that was running at the same time. Look, at the same time, you had the Addams Family, and you had the Munsters, and you had Batman. All this was within the same...
Was Green Acres on it around that time?
No, Green Acres actually there was a sweep that knocked all of these out, was the sweep that came in with Green Acres and the Beverly Hillbillies. You know, all of a sudden, you know, science fiction was gone and bad fiction was in.
What a dark time.
Oh, yeah.
But this had the classics, you know, overcrowded planet.
Yeah.
The ship's electronic brain was kind of in charge of everything. They're going to explore a new world and try to find, and then they get lost on the way,
right?
And everything goes wrong,
right? And they have the stowaway who is there to.
So the first episode had the stowaway, Dr. Smith.
Dr. Smith,
and he was a saboteur.
Yeah, saboteur. What was great was the seat that he had. It was so cool. I mean, he had like I don't know exactly what that was. The jump seat that like he slid and went back into the panel, and you know, so he appears out of a seat, and we find out that he's a colonel, and.
So yeah, he sets a he says something. I like how he sabotaged it to explode in 8 hours, whatever.
Yeah,
the robot to destroy everything, and then he ends up being stuck on the plane on the spaceship.
Right, and he has to keep turning the robot back on again.
And by the way, I was wondering the timing when they built Tomorrowland in Disneyland, because the spaceship looked exactly like it was straight out of Tomorrowland,
right? Exactly.
In Disneyland, and then the rocket suits where they're flying around.
It was a thing. No, well,
yeah, it was like.
But what else did we have going on then?
But it's still cool.
The race to the race to the moon.
That's right.
What do you mean?
Yeah,
cool?
Was that 1968? Was that the moon landing?
Well, but that was the end of 5 years of pushing.
Yeah,
you know. And the thing is you have to understand it, and you can't understand it now the way that it was back then. Back then, everything was space. When I was growing up, that we were going to space. It was like everybody was into it, you know? It's like that's why you see cars that had big fins. You know, you had these science fiction TV shows on.
Disneyland was doing stuff.
And Disneyland got Tomorrowland, and
which I still enjoyed Tomorrowland when I went there. It was
right. Tomorrowland was the best.
It's like futuristic yet.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, the rockets up and down, and rockets are up. Yeah, you know, this was part of the wave of science fiction that was going on at that point. And the thing is it was part of, we were actually felt like we were stretching beyond Earth, you know, that it was going to be a big deal. We didn't know what the moon was like. I mean, literally, we were making a moonshot, and you know, if we had gotten up there and the moon was Camembert, nobody would have been that surprised.
Right. Well, plus it was during the Cold War, and
right?
There was a lot of fear about aliens coming in too. Like,
well, yeah,
kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you know, you could replace the idea of the aliens with the aliens.
Yeah.
You know, with aliens, you could replace the aliens with the aliens. You know, exactly.
Damn communists.
But it was an interesting time in that, you know, all of us were focused on a single thing other than our phones.
And I can't believe you haven't talked about the amazing practical effects, like when the ponytails were lifting up.
Yeah.
When they lost gravity. Yet somehow they were just standing there, and there was no gravity.
No, and no gravity.
They weren't holding on to anything. They were just standing there with their ponytails.
I think that one of the best effects, though, was the what did they call it? The thing in the center of the room that spun all the tank like this, which was really obviously a guy underneath with a stick like going.
Well, that was the electronic brain of the spaceship.
And you know, the great thing about the electronic brain of the spaceship is that the thing that it was sitting on, you remember there's a globe kind of thing, which was obviously, you know, like a globe off of a lamp. But the thing that it sat on, that had all the look. We used to buy stuff that looked like that, you know, off of the aerospace places in El Segundo. I mean, they would have these enormous sails. You know, and what they would do is they would take like an interior area like a parking lot, and they would lay just stuff like that all over the place, right? And you would make a bid on it depending on where it was sitting, what space it was sitting on. You would make a bid on square X13 or something, you know, and you would just go in and you just bid on like 20 of them, like for $20 a piece. You almost always get at least a couple, you know, and you take them away with you and you get that kind of stuff. And we make all kinds of props and stuff with them, you know?
And then the guy in the robot suit. I mean, that had been a horrible job.
Oh, man, that just sucks.
Especially where you walk around destroy.
Yeah, right. And your arms extending out with dryer vents.
But yeah, I mean, and the actor that played Dr. Smith, he was awesome. I mean, I think he carried a lot of it.
Oh, he really did. I mean, he had the thing is him and Bill Mummy were actually the two that
Jonathan Harris.
Yeah, we're actually. But did you notice this? And I'm going to slide right into the new one here.
Yeah,
okay?
Let's do it.
Now, well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to slide in on this person. Her name was. Oh, that's great. You just. No. Go back to the one that you were on.
Sorry. Okay.
Okay. Her name was Marta Kristen. Okay.
Yeah.
Was Marta Kristen.
She played Judy.
Right. She played Judy. Right. Here's the thing: is if you take a picture of her, now go to the other one.
Well, first let me look at a picture of Judy here.
Oh,
that's a lady one. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talking about the new Judy?
Yeah, the new Judy.
Who's Taylor Russell?
Right. Take a look at. See, she looks exactly like the other Judy did at her age.
Which I gotta find a picture now. Now that you said that.
Well, go to Google Images Lost in Space.
Here we go.
There she. Yeah. See, look.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That's amazing.
I'm telling you, you couldn't tell the two of them apart. I was like, wow, that's so weird. Did they exhume her in order to get her to play the role?
Well, except for the hair. I mean,
well, yeah, but you know.
Although they did change a couple other characters in the new one.
Well, yeah, they did. Well, listen, the robot came from a new place.
Dr. Smith is now a woman, played by Parker Posey.
Yeah, I haven't seen that episode yet. That's the next episode.
That was the first one. Yeah, the very first episode of the new series. At the end of the episode.
Oh, right.
Parker Posey.
That's right. At the very end of the episode.
They kind of show what happens. Well, anyway, we can erase that part.
Yeah.
So like the Dr. Smith changed genders.
Oh, well, I like that.
It's Parker Posey playing Dr. Smith.
Well,
and the robot. What do you think about the robot in the new one?
I thought the robot in the new one was actually pretty cool. I didn't know exactly where it was coming from at first. And I was like, in general, the new one seemed melodramatic to a fault. I mean, the melodrama was just, I mean, look, what kind of melodrama, how deep are you in melodrama when you get to the point that the only person that's frozen in a block of ice, all you can touch is their hand extended over them?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, right? And the music was awful.
Well, Yeah, you're right. The music, I was thinking that
It
too.
was sappy. It was sappy and yeah, you know,
I had trouble with the new one, and then when I saw the robot, I got back into it a little bit more.
that's exactly what happened to me.
Yeah, I was like, eh.
And
And
by
it's
the
not
way,
a remake, by the way,
oh, it's not?
because the dad, I mean, totally different family
Yeah.
dynamics.
Yeah,
He's like
what-
an outsider. They're about to get. It sounds like he's losing custody of his children almost.
Right, exactly.
They're estranged from each other.
Yeah, like he was about ready to sign them off.
Yeah, and they didn't overuse the flashbacks, which I appreciated, because a lot of these type of shows will use a lot of
they really
flashbacks.
do. Yeah.
But I don't think they overdid it in this one. I mean, I think they kind of used them to
They had a cut.
move the story along faster,
Yeah.
just to kind of set up. So maybe the second episode might be better than the first one. But I don't know. But I wasn't overly excited about this one, really. But I did think too much. I think they went a little bit too overboard with the things going wrong for the family.
Yeah, I think that the maudlin feel of things, and that they had the robot that came along at the end, that all of their him being, you know,
he was like
being a walking heater.
Well, he was
You
like
know?
a bio-robotic
Right. It was
creature thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the thing is I thought it was a little too convenient that he happened to be a walking heater, and
Yes.
that's what they needed at the time.
Exactly. Well, I did like how they established the characters, and they went kind of to the backstories for each character, because you
Right.
could understand better
Right.
where they were coming from, I guess, and
Right.
what they
didn't do that for the robot.
what function they served. Like the Judy late
Right.
girl was the kind of the girl that knew about medical things,
Right.
that type of thing. And then they kept separating the family. I noticed, like, you had to separate Judy from the family.
You had to,
then you had to
well,
separate
get into
Will.
groups. And see, and that was exactly the dynamic that you had in the original. In the original series, you had people would go out in different groups, and then it was, you know, what did they have to do to pull the groups back together?
Right.
You know, that was exactly the dynamic that you always had. You know, somebody had to go out and get food, and somebody had to go out and find fuel, and that was what every episode was about. You know, and it was about who you found while you were finding food.
And then I think the most interesting character, I think, going forward would be Will.
I
Because
hope
he
so.
starts out as
because
kind of a wimp.
Yeah, he starts out as a
I
wimp.
found an alien ship. I'm the first
know.
human to see a ship.
I know, and exposition was pretty freaking awful there. Why was he talking to himself about the alien ship before he brought out the recorder? And then when the recorder comes out, he just takes a picture of everything.
Right.
Right? And you're going, oh, wait a minute. You know, he could have brought that thing out and recorded. You know, that's the perfect opportunity for not having him just talk into the air and well, it looks like, you know where it looks like I am, Bob? It looks like I'm on an alien ship. And I was like,
Well, he's like, I'm recording this because I think it's important.
there you go.
So it's hard for me to rate this. I don't. Do we have to rate the first one? Because I mean, it's 1960s. I mean, you can't really rate it on today's standards. I don't think necessarily.
It's a, you know what?
But I think I'm going to watch the rest
Let
of
me-
the old one
let
before
me-
I watch the new one. That's how.
let me do this. Here's the thing. Rate it within the shows that you saw at the time. I'm going to rate it the way that I would have as I was a 10-year-old boy. You know, as an 8-year-old boy watching those shows, I would rate it a little bit lower than Star Trek, because Star Trek was king at the time, and this one didn't seem nearly as serious, and at the same time they were so far above absolutely everything that was going on. I would have to give it at least a 3.8
See, but
as a kid.
the weird thing about the first one, though, which I totally forgot to mention, was that I was looking into it, and I guess it started off as a miniseries, the first 5 episodes, and they were a little bit more serious, and then it evolved into this like show where they started getting color into it, and then it was all about the doctor and the boy and the robot. Kind of got away from the family thing.
Right.
But anyway, I saw it as an 8-year-old boy too, which is weird. Same thing with Star Trek.
Yeah, just what, 15 years
In fact,
later?
when I was 6 years old,
20
I
years
had
later?
6 years old, and I lived in Oregon. I had a girlfriend that I used to go hang out with after school, and we'd watch Star Trek.
Oh yeah. Well, Star Trek's been playing
So
continuously.
both of these have been like endlessly in reruns, I guess.
Yeah.
But Lost in Space probably not so frequent now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Lost in Space wasn't that frequent.
But I feel the same way.
Even when yeah.
I'd rank Star Trek a lot higher than
Yeah,
Lost in Space. But I've only seen at the same time. I've only seen one episode in its entirety.
The most recent Lost in Space.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. I can't even tell you. I didn't like it that much. I thought it was schmaltzy.
Yeah.
And you know what? It was the same way with you. Until I saw the robot with the boy, I didn't care about her at all. I thought, wow, this is just a pain. So when that came along, I think the most I could give it is a 3.
I think I agree with you totally because it has.
See, these things suck when I agree with you.
It has potential though, so maybe the next episode it'll start improving. But no, for me, the robot. If I was going to rate the robot by himself, probably give him a higher rating. I'd give him a 4. Anyway, let's see. I took really copious notes here. I just want to see if I missed anything.
Okay, did you miss anything?
Oh, it was set in 1997. Oh, that's a new one. I wanted to talk about the old one.
You know, the old one, the thing that I did notice about it is that some of the design aspects were, propage was super cheesy. The guns were super cheesy.
That's what was awesome about it, though.
I know. Oh, I know. I know, totally.
And the tubes they stood in.
Yeah, and the tubes, yeah, I know. But it was...
I like that voice, too. It's like, there's a fire on the ship.
Yeah.
Will they survive? It was almost like a serial kind of feel.
Yeah, there was it's funny because the narrator, at times, they were using a narrator that was also the narrator on the show, was also the same narrator that was on the radio, and it all kind of blended out to be the same person.
Yeah.
And it was odd that way. It was really... the other thing I thought was cool was, remember when they're getting their checkup?
Yeah.
And it's the doctor, and literally he's checking them on a chair that looked like a dental chair that was sitting in the middle of a just huge
it was like a big
black void,
big huge place. Yeah, like a big hangar
with one
or
light
something.
on. What the hell is that all about?
And actually, in the pilot, they said, well, the narration was Mrs. West, the first woman to pass a test. Like usually, it's only males that have passed this Richard test, but the first female ever to pass this test. I made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, how funny is it that he was smashing the transmission device? They called it to the communication device. He was smashing it because he was pissed off, and then it was the 200 pounds threw them off course. So
exactly. Well, that must have thrown us off course. I was like, okay.
Let's see what else do I have here. Mom collapses. Good thing Dr. Smith was there. That's what I put. Like it was kind of like
Well, there
it was a good thing they had a doctor. Like it wasn't meant to be that way.
But here's the thing: is through the whole series, that's the way that they treat him. There's a yin and the yang thing to him because they know that he's a traitor.
Yeah,
and yet they need his doctor's skills, and every once in a while he shows that he kind of has a heart.
Yeah,
you know that was it. Well, really, a lot of what was going on
self-preservation for the most part, but.
Exactly, but the thing is, a lot of what was going on was centered on.
Yeah, it's like this tug of war kind of internal. So the new one, they made Judy kind of the doctor, and then the Dr. Smith is kind of like, I don't know. I mean,
well, I don't know. She looks crazy so far. That's all we don't know anything about her. Yep. So.
Yeah, the no gravity for a while, that was hilarious. So the spacewalk with the rope.
The
rocket gun, they called it. And then I love how it ended with the cliffhanger. See, that was amazing.
Well, yes, but all the Lost in Spaces.
They all did the cliffhanger. Yeah, so the serial, like I said, it's like a serial feel.
It was like a serial, and the thing is they, a lot of times, they would end on the hanger of the next whole new set of problems, right? So they would present the new set of problems. And that was the hanger, and you know, it's like you can never get away from problems. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's why I like Battlestar Galactica. It was like It was similar. I'm talking about the old school Battlestar Galactica.
Right, right.
It was, it was just like every episode there was a problem and they overcame it. Then there was something else come up and that would be the end of the episode, but it was a cliffhanger. You didn't know what was going to happen.
Right.
The Cylons would be coming. Anyway.
Hey.
Yep.
Now, there was something that I remember what it was.
Story time.
It's story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick.
Story time with Mick. Story time with Mick.
I wanted to talk about something just because I remembered it the other day. It was just a lot of fun. When I was working on a film called The Kindred, and I was working with Tassel Bauer, and Tassel Bauer was the lead effects, mechanical effects, and I was his assistant. And and we were working on this horror film called The Kindred. And one of the things that you do as a special effects man is you do the basic description of a special effects man is to do things that move. And I know that this sounds weird, but you got to think about it. Is rain,
Mm-hmm.
rain moves, fire moves, all these things that are constantly moving. And if it moves on the set, or if it's harder than it is naturally, or softer than it is naturally, those are all special effects. So we were doing the rain on the Kindred, and the rain, basically it was a sequence where a hearse is coming up the road, and it comes up this canyon. You see it from very far away. You see the headlights going through the pouring rain, pouring through. And it comes up this canyon, and then you're in front of the Kindred house, and it comes up the road, and it stops right in front of the camera. That's basically the scene that we were hired, because we did other stuff on the Kindred, but just in general, we had one night that we were just doing the rain scenes. Okay. It was a long night.
Right.
Well, Tazlo's job, I was dealing with water, and Tazlo was dealing with lightning. Now, the way that you dealt with lightning back then, this was before lightning machines. Now they have lightning machines, which are basically an enormous flash.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Back then, the way that we did it is we took and got carbon rods, right? Just like half-inch thick carbon rods, very, very much like Homer Simpson takes to space, right? We would take inanimate carbon rods, and you would take just a standard welder, the old-fashioned big welder, and you would put a rod in both clips, and then just hold them up over your head and go like this.
Wow.
And it would look like lightning. And it would be unbelievably bright, and it would give that, that kind of uneven light. Okay, so Taz was doing that, which is just hilarious. When to see him do it would, Taz was probably 6'4", and to see him standing in the fake rain with a rain hat, and the thing is Taz would be kitted out to the nth degree. So he would have like the real hat, not just the yellow one, but like you would see on like a Boston going
like a clam digging outfit.
Clam, exactly. That's what I was thinking. But and the big yellow jacket, with the snaps up in front.
Gordon's fisherman.
Exactly. He would look like a Gordon's fisherman for sure. And he'd have like the big rubber boots, and he'd be out there, with the huge gloves, and he had these little spectacles like this, but he'd have a mask on. He's like a welding mask. Oh, it was actually priceless in itself. But he's doing the lightning, and first of all, we have to do the approach to the house. So we have to do this whole canyon, and we're literally watering. We are raining in the whole canyon, and you have to be able to see the car way far away coming up. See this hearse coming, and so we take the hillside, and what we do is we put up on the hillside, we put a big. Now I know I'm going to screw this up and he's going to hate me, but it's like we took a long 2-inch line and ran it all the way down and fed off all these 1.5-inch lines that went up the hill. And it was too expensive. This is a very large budget film, and it was too expensive to have, special effects people actually up on the ridge. So basically what we did is we had maybe 7 PAs, completely kitted them out and put them up there with the fire hoses, right? Now here's the thing. The thing is if you're not used to a fire hose, it can be a little intimidating because especially when you have a truck here that's 2,500 to 4,000 gallons, and it has a pump that can run up to maybe about 300 pounds pressure.
Yeah,
on a 2.5-inch hose, that's some pressure, right? And so what we did is we're running the shot, and everybody, before we sent them up the hill, we had to teach them
how to hold it,
how to hold the hose, right? And how you lean into it. You start to crack the hose, and as you crack it and open it up, and the pressure starts to push you back, then you lean back up against the hose. Which is it's one thing if you're doing it down on the ground before you climb the hill. Now, when you get up on the hill, completely different thing, right? So we're the first time that we do it, we run the hoses, all the pressure comes up. Okay. Everybody's on, and we get the whole valley completely, so in the rain's coming down and everything like this, and Taz is and okay, we're done, cut. And I signaled the guy who's operating the pump, and he stops. And all of a sudden, the pressure lets off on all these hoses that are up on the hill. And this one kid that was like a brand new PA, it's like just probably, he still had that new PA smell and stuff. And he's up there on that hill, and we cut the pressure, and he's still leaning hard into that hose, and he just launches down the hill. I mean, launches off the top of that hill, and just rolls up, and he rolls up. It was
or trial by water.
I have to tell you, to have gone over to this poor kid who also, the way that he fell, he rolled with his hose, right? So literally 100 feet of hose rolled up with it. So he was wrapped up in 100 feet of hose.
Sounds like a Harold Lloyd.
Oh, it was.
Thing,
It was great comedy.
Charlie Chaplin or something.
It was great comedy. Yeah. And the thing is you have to be careful because in special effects you kind of used to doing pretty dangerous stuff and assessing problems and stuff, and you do the situational awareness and stuff, and the thing is, as soon as I saw that he was okay, I wanted to start laughing. But it's really hard if you're the guy that's supposed to be watching out all over everybody. You don't want to just
no.
So then we move to the second part of the shot, which is pulling up in front of the house with the hearse, right? And so we all get ourselves situated, and there's a camera right here, really low, that it was going to come up, and we were going to get that shot where you come right up to the camera, and then the door opens, and you catch the door, and you're down low, and so
you see the feet,
right? You see the feet, yeah. And this, they wanted to do it with the star, right? And so he practices with a hearse. Now, a hearse is like one of those surprisingly large, heavy vehicles. I mean, even empty, a hearse is a really, really, really big vehicle, and and so we rehearsed it with him, the stopping, and we put like sandbags there, and then they put that camera down there, and then they put the lighting here, and the sound guy was like right over here, and it was like, see, the thing is here's the road. The road comes in here, right? This is the house. This is where we have to stop. If you came up here, all of the equipment and the lights, and I'm standing back over here, and all of us are essentially in the way of the car when it stops. We're at the front of the car. And so he practices, and then we make everything wet.
Oh, yeah.
And it's dirt and gravel, right? And so, if you've lived in California before, you know that it is hard clay, right? And hard clay that once it gets wet, then it just slicks.
Yeah.
It's because
and gravel on top of that.
Right, gravel on top of that. And I'm not kidding. The guy's coming down the road, and I'm like doing rain. Tassel's like right next to me over here, and we are. And let me note this: we wound up being exactly the width of one limousine from each of one
Hearse.
There was exactly that distance between us. And you know how I know that? Because the hearse shot through the gap between us.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, the camera guy didn't tweak to this, because we tweaked to it immediately because we didn't have our eye in the thing like this. And the camera got shoved into his eye, and this just took the sound guy, and well, actually the sound guy ran. I think and I think this is pretty funny is if we hadn't been doing rain, probably it wouldn't have been slick, and the sound guy would have probably been reading during the take, as they usually do.
Really?
But there was nothing to read because it was wet.
Yeah.
This is before devices and he probably was actually looking at the scene for once, and he knew when he had to split, and so so he comes up.
I didn't know that that sound guys would read during.
Oh,
I never knew that.
This was great. Yeah, it's one thing. They were always reading books, and I remember on Nightmare on Elm Street 4, as a set would get used, whenever first unit used a set, it's like the next day there would be pages everywhere. I was like, what the hell? It's like, and this kept on going on. The pages would move all over the place. And finally, I went over and I watched, and I started watching the people to try and figure out where these pages are come from. And here's what I found is the sound guy, what he did is he had on his cart, the sound cart, that had the Nagra recorder right here, he had like made a little arm that came out like this, and he would take a paperback novel and he would glue it to the, and then he just
ripped the pages off.
He just ripped the pages off, and I said, well, why do you do that? He goes, well, he says, I mean, sometimes I get interrupted all the time, and I can look up, and I can come back, and it's always going to be open to the right page because that's the only page I've got. And I go, well, that's actually pretty freaking clever. Except for he left pages everywhere all the time. Yeah, anyway, well.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So were the camera guy, was he okay?
Everybody was fine.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody. I think everybody was fine. There were some bruises, and there were a lot of bruised egos. When everybody realized that they had like literally set themselves in front of a hearse on a sick road, right? It's like one of those things where
We had sandbags. Weren't they supposed to stop him?
Yeah, right. Yeah, a hearse. Yeah. See, that was the other thing. The other thing is if it'd been a Toyota.
Well, I'm thinking of the hearse I'm picturing is probably not the right hearse. I'm picturing the one in the movie Harold and Maude. That was kind of a small one.
Yeah, that's not a hearse. No. A hearse a hearse is built on a Cadillac chassis, and they put a lot of weight in there. They are really heavy, and boy, that thing really it really kept going. I mean, it almost took out the garage that was behind us. I mean, it was like really close. Yeah, good times had by all.
Thank you for listening to the Dream Warrior Review. As always, you can reach us at Gmail at dreamwarriorreview@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at DWR Review, and of course, we're on Facebook. Until next time.